I think a couple of things to cover first are why rituals and milestones are important before we talk about what types of rituals and milestones a family could have. So I think they're important because they connect us as a family and they show our kids our value system.
Yeah, and you know, they connect us both to the past, because if it's a ritual that has been done before, and it connects us to the future, because hopefully what we start doing with our kids, they will do then with their children. And I think that it gives kids a sense of who they were and who came before them and where they'll be going.
Right, great. So there was this...
So rituals, yes.
Yes, they're important. There was a big body of research that came out, I don't remember how long ago, that said having family dinners was really important for families. It decreased truancy rates, and it decreased drug and alcohol addiction and armed robbery and all these things. Like basically, if you weren't going to have dinner with your family, you're, you know,
right, you may as well just put them in jail.
Right. But I think that's not the piece we want to focus on today. What we want to say is those rituals are important, but it doesn't have to be dinner every night, right?
Right. I think that research actually caused more stress in families than we thought, because which we could do another 10 morsels on why there's no time to have family dinners. But be that as it may, parents were thinking, well, if we can't have dinner together, then all is lost.
Right.
And then dinner was becoming fraught with pressure.
Stressful. Yes.
It was, it's like going on a first date, because you're like, I got to get all this bonding in. I have to make my family feel like a family. So I think that's a great point, that it doesn't have to be over a meal, and it certainly doesn't have to be over dinner.
Right.
It could just be some time that is always set aside for the same thing.
Right.
That we do.
And let's have reasonable expectations around it, right? So it doesn't have to be dinner, it doesn't have, but it's important for kids to have consistency and structure.
Yeah.
And when they can know that this is going to happen, whether it's weekly or monthly, then it's something that they can count on, right? So if it's Sunday night pizza and family games, if it's a Wednesday, we have breakfast together before we all head off to school, right? I mean, any of those are good ideas.
You know, when my son, one of my kids was in preschool, he went to a Jewish preschool, and the teachers had the kids write stories about why they liked the Sabbath the best, and all these other kids wrote, oh, I love the Sabbath because my family goes to synagogue together and my mother bakes a challah. And they put them all out on the wall, and when we came to open house, my son had written, I love the Sabbath because my mom lets us drive through El Pollo Loco and I can get a grande burrito. And, you know, at first I was mortified and I thought, okay, we'll just leave schools. I won't go to a Jewish school ever again. But then I realized that's a ritual that he knew that Friday night was set apart because that was something that we did. Now that's a very shallow ritual, but it brings up a point that you don't have to have a religious ritual. I think sometimes when we talk about rituals, people think, well, I don't go to church, I don't celebrate. It doesn't have to be through religion.
Right. And I don't think it's shallow. I think if he was so excited about that every week and he thought, this is what our family does.
Right.
We do food. What he knows is we celebrate together, we spend time together, we can count on this.
Right, and it sets it apart. The idea of a ritual is something that you repeat, but it also sets it apart from your daily life. And there's something that we do differently. I think that if you're looking to come up with what you could do for your family, a ritual, you could look to nature. You could look to other things that are happening in the world that can become a ritual that you do.
And it could be a ritual that's weekly, yearly, monthly. I mean, I think there are things that kids and families can look forward to based on your family value system.
Right.
You know, my family, my husband and daughter are heading off this weekend because she said to my husband at some point, Daddy, don't forget, we need to do our summer camping trip. And when they can depend on that, they know that time is coming. And because, again, a whole other morsel, right? Because kids are so busy and their schedules are so full, when there are these things they can count on, even if they're small, I think it builds a lot of resiliency for them.
And it ties into a milestone, that a ritual certainly is appropriate around a milestone. And again, a milestone doesn't have to be anything religious. It could be, I mean, I remember when I was growing up, my mom said I could get my ears pierced at 12. Well, I did it at 9, but I hid them for a few years. But it's like, okay, you wait for that, and you don't have to get A's, you don't have to clean your room, you just accomplish it because you've hit that, and that becomes a ritual too, that maybe you go together and get your your ears pierced, or do something that kids know they can count on that will really be part of it.
Absolutely. And I think that, again, it reflects our value system as a family. So let's recap here on our MotherLoad morsel about rituals and milestones. Yes, do them. They're important.
Yes. Grande burritos.
Our food is a good way to do rituals and milestones. They don't have to be religious.
No.
They should be able to be counted on because kids thrive on structure, and it supports your family value system.
And I think to end with, the family can get together and talk about what they'd like to do.
Great
too.
idea. Great
The parents
point.
don't have to know already. You could sit down and say, we'd like to begin some family rituals.
Great point.